Hundreds of years ago, England was not powerful. It was just a small island with poor farmers and small villages. No one thought it would ever rule the world. England was divided into small kingdoms that often fought each other. Then the Vikings arrived from the sea, bringing fear and destruction. Life was never peaceful. In 1066, England was conquered by William the Conqueror. New laws and castles were built across the land. England slowly became more organized. Kings became stronger and united more of the country. Trade between towns started to grow. England was beginning to change. She realized real power came from the sea. So it began building stronger ships and a powerful navy. The ocean became its greatest weapon. English explorers sailed across dangerous oceans. They searched for land, trade routes, and wealth. The world was opening up. England defeated powerful rivals at sea, including Spain. Its navy became one of the strongest in the world. Control of the oceans meant control of power. Factories changed everything during the Industrial Revolution. Britain became rich, fast, and powerful. Machines replaced old ways of working. The British Empire spread across continents. It became the largest empire in history. English influence reached the entire world. World wars weakened Britain. Colonies began gaining independence one by one. The empire slowly disappeared. England's rise changed the world forever. But no empire stays powerful forever. History always moves forward. Long before England became rich and powerful, life there was extremely difficult. The weather was often cold and rainy. Most roads were muddy and dangerous. Disease spread easily through villages and towns. People depended heavily on farming to survive. If crops failed, entire communities suffered from hunger. England was not united. Small kingdoms constantly fought each other for land and power. Peace rarely lasted for long. Then came the Viking invasions from Scandinavia. Fierce warriors sailed across the sea in long wooden ships. They attacked villages without warning. They burned homes and churches and stole everything they could. People lived in fear whenever ships appeared near the coast. Families hid in forests while villages were destroyed. In 1066, another invasion changed England forever. William from Normandy crossed the sea with his army. He defeated King Harold at the Battle of Hastings. After the battle, William became King of England. History would remember him as William the Conqueror. His victory transformed England completely. The Normans built massive stone castles across the country. They changed laws, taxes, and how the country was ruled. England slowly became more organized and centralized. But true global power was still many centuries away. Over time, England's rulers became stronger and more ambitious. Kings wanted greater control over the country. They created better legal systems. They collected taxes more efficiently. They built stronger armies. Slowly, England began acting less like divided territories and more like one united kingdom. Cities started growing. Trade increased between towns. Markets became busy centers of activity. Merchants sold cloth, fish, grain, and imported goods across England. In 1215, one of the most important events happened: the signing of the Magna Carta. This document limited the king's power and introduced important legal principles. It did not create democracy immediately, but it shaped future ideas about law and government. England began to understand something important. Power did not only come from soldiers and castles. Power also came from trade, wealth, and control of the sea. England invested heavily in shipbuilding. Ports became centers of business and opportunity. Merchants traveled farther than ever before. England's economy slowly expanded. And with economic growth came greater ambition. England no longer wanted only survival. It wanted influence. It wanted wealth. And eventually, it wanted dominance. By the 1500s, Europe entered a new period known as the Age of Exploration. Powerful nations competed fiercely for wealth and global influence. Spain and Portugal were already building huge overseas empires. Their ships traveled across Africa, Asia, and the Americas. They returned carrying gold, silver, spices, silk, and other valuable resources. England watched carefully. It did not want to be left behind. English explorers began sailing across dangerous oceans in search of new trade routes and new lands. These voyages were incredibly risky. Ships faced violent storms, hunger, and disease. Many crews never returned home. Yet exploration continued. Explorers like Sir Francis Drake and Sir Walter Raleigh became famous across England. England soon established colonies in North America and the Caribbean. These colonies became important sources of wealth. They produced tobacco, sugar, cotton, and timber. English merchants sold these goods across Europe for huge profits. At the same time, competition between European powers became dangerous. The oceans became battlefields. Ships attacked enemy vessels carrying treasure. Pirates robbed merchants at sea. Countries fought for control of trade routes. England realized that whoever controlled the oceans controlled global trade, and whoever controlled trade controlled power. So England began building an even stronger navy to protect its growing empire. England was no longer thinking only about Europe. It was beginning to think globally. One of the most important moments in England's rise came in 1588. At that time, Spain was the most powerful empire in Europe. Its navy, known as the Spanish Armada, was considered nearly unbeatable. Spain planned to invade England and destroy its growing influence. Many people believed England had no chance of surviving. But England refused to surrender. English ships prepared to defend their homeland. English ships moved faster than the larger Spanish vessels. English commanders used new naval tactics during battle. They attacked quickly and stayed mobile. Spain struggled to respond. Then nature itself joined the fight. Powerful storms scattered the Spanish Armada across dangerous seas. Many Spanish ships crashed against rocks or sank in violent weather. Others were destroyed during battle. The invasion failed completely. England's victory shocked Europe. For the first time, many nations realized England was becoming a major power. The victory gave England enormous confidence. From this moment, its rise accelerated. Over the next centuries, Britain continued improving its navy. Its ships became larger, faster, and more heavily armed. British sailors traveled across nearly every ocean on Earth. Naval bases were built around the world. The navy protected merchant ships carrying valuable goods. Trade routes connected Britain to distant colonies and markets. Soon, Britain possessed one of the strongest navies in human history. Its ships dominated global waters. Enemies feared British naval power, and allies respected it. Control of the sea became the foundation of Britain's empire. Without naval dominance, the empire could never have expanded so far. The navy protected trade, transported soldiers, and connected distant colonies together. Britain's power rested upon the oceans. And for many years, no nation could challenge it successfully. Then came another major turning point: the Industrial Revolution. During the 1700s and 1800s, Britain experienced dramatic technological and economic change. Before this period, most products were made slowly by hand. People worked in small workshops or at home. Production was limited. Everything took time and effort to make. But machines changed everything. Factories appeared across Britain. Steam engines powered industrial machines. Manufacturing became faster and cheaper than ever before. Entire industries transformed. Textile factories produced enormous amounts of cloth. Coal mines expanded rapidly. Iron production increased dramatically. Cities grew larger as workers moved from rural villages into industrial towns. Railways connected cities and ports. Steam trains transported goods quickly across the country. Steamships improved international trade. Britain became one of the richest economies in the world. Its factories produced goods on a massive scale. Other countries struggled to compete with British industry. The Industrial Revolution also strengthened Britain's military power. Factories produced weapons, ammunition, uniforms, and warships more efficiently than before. Industrial wealth funded military expansion. More trade created more money. More money created more power. And more power allowed Britain to expand its empire even further. However, industrial life was not easy for ordinary workers. Factory conditions were often terrible. Many workers labored for long hours in dangerous environments. Children worked in factories and mines for very low pay. Cities became crowded and polluted. Smoke from factories darkened the skies. Despite these problems, industrialization transformed Britain into the center of global commerce and technology. For many people living during that era, Britain's rise seemed unstoppable. At its peak, the British Empire became the largest empire the world had ever seen. Britain controlled territories across Africa, Asia, the Caribbean, the Middle East, and the Americas. Millions of people lived under British rule. The empire became so large that people often said, "The sun never sets on the British Empire." British ships carried goods between continents. London became one of the world's most important financial centers. British businesses earned enormous profits from global trade. English culture spread throughout many regions. Most importantly, the English language expanded around the world. Today, English remains one of the most widely spoken languages partly because of Britain's historical influence. But the empire also had a darker side. Many colonies suffered under British control. Local populations were often exploited for labor and resources. In some regions, people lost land and political freedom. Resistance movements emerged throughout the empire. Some colonies experienced violence, rebellion, and economic hardship. Still, Britain remained extremely powerful for many decades. Its navy protected trade routes. Its industries produced enormous wealth. Its colonies supplied valuable raw materials. For a long period of history, Britain stood at the center of global power. The empire influenced politics, economics, culture, and international trade across the world. Yet even the strongest empires eventually faced decline. And Britain was no exception. In the 1900s, Britain faced enormous challenges. The First World War began in 1914 and caused destruction across Europe unlike anything seen before. Millions of soldiers died in brutal fighting. Entire towns and villages lost young generations of men. The war cost Britain huge amounts of money and resources. Although Britain and its allies eventually won, the country emerged exhausted. Then, only a few decades later, the Second World War began. Once again, Britain faced terrible conflict. German bombs fell on British cities during the Blitz. Homes, factories, and streets were destroyed. Families spent nights hiding in underground shelters. Food became limited. Fear spread across the nation. Yet Britain continued fighting. Under the leadership of Prime Minister Winston Churchill, the country resisted Nazi Germany despite enormous danger. Eventually, the Allies won the war. But victory came at a heavy price. Britain's economy suffered greatly. Its empire became increasingly difficult to maintain. At the same time, independence movements grew stronger across the colonies. Many people no longer wanted foreign rule. India, one of Britain's most important colonies, gained independence in 1947. Other colonies soon followed. Across Africa, Asia, and the Caribbean, nations fought for self-government. Slowly, the British Empire began breaking apart. One by one, colonies became independent countries. Britain could no longer control the massive empire it once ruled. Meanwhile, new superpowers emerged after World War II. The United States and the Soviet Union dominated global politics during the Cold War. The balance of power changed completely. Britain remained important, but the age of empire had ended. The story of England's rise to power is one of the most important stories in human history. It began with a small island nation struggling to survive among stronger enemies. Over centuries, England built stronger governments, powerful navies, profitable trade systems, and revolutionary industries. It explored distant lands. It fought major wars. It created one of the largest empires the world had ever seen. Its influence shaped politics, economics, culture, and language across the globe. Even today, the effects of the British Empire remain visible. English is spoken by millions of people worldwide. Many legal systems and political traditions were influenced by British institutions. Global trade networks still reflect patterns created during the empire's expansion. But history is complicated. Britain's rise brought both progress and suffering. For some regions, British influence introduced new technologies, education systems, and international connections. For others, it caused exploitation, inequality, violence, and economic hardship. The empire changed countless lives forever. And perhaps the greatest lesson is this: no nation remains powerful forever. Every empire rises. Every empire expands. And eventually, every empire changes or declines. Power is never permanent. History constantly moves forward. Still, the story of England's rise remains one of humanity's most fascinating journeys. From a cold and divided island to a global superpower, England transformed the modern world forever. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this historical English listening story, subscribe for more educational documentaries, history lessons, and English listening practice videos.